Queers for Palestine, chickens for KFC, cows for McDonald's. How do you explain this weird phenomenon of people like supporting groups and movements that would absolutely oppress them and butcher them if they were in that same situation? It's kind of part of this trend that we've seen for many years, the Green-Red Alliance between the Islamists and the communists, who have nothing in common except the fact that they want to tear down the system that they're living in. Well, here is a Queers for Palestine woman getting educated, let's say, by a lady here about what she is actually supporting.
Hi. So, what would your feelings be for when it comes to Queers for Palestine?
Well, I don't know a lot about
Yeah.
the movement, but
Yeah.
I do know that what's happening in Palestine is absolutely horrible,
Yeah.
and is like, moreover, not just an individual, country problem. It's more of like a global suppression of like humanity,
Yeah.
and like expressing ourselves in the ways we want to. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about the Queers for Palestine movement in New York, but
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna show you something. So this was just released the other day.
Okay.
Actually, within the next past week.
So what she's showing her is the treatment that a queer man in Palestine received very recently for being queer. And you see the reaction on the face
would
of,
this be a queer Palestinian man?
Yes.
Too?
yeah, something pretty bad is happening there. I don't know what the clip is, but it's like, that's not very nice, is it? So why am I supporting that?
And then
What's going
Makes me
on?
really sad for humanity, really, 'cause
Yeah.
there's just so much that.
This is just fresh out like yesterday as well.
My name's Barbara.
So it's good. We've got like a mixed like Barbaras right there.
Yeah.
And this, for me, was kind of the scariest thing in
Holy cow.
general. Yeah. Because it's also very recent, and I think a lot of the time it ends up being like, I think we're so removed, so we tend to like maybe look at it as though it's an isolated
Yeah,
situation.
I don't have. This is the main topic of conversation. I'm from Nova Scotia in
Nova
Canada,
Scotia.
so we have a lot of marches.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like really like trying to gather still and speak up because
Yeah.
A lot of ignorant people.
it's just like it's completely atrocious. And it's horrible.
So I think a
It's
lot
so
of the
scary
time-
for so many
Yeah.
people because it's not just that. Like if we turn a blind eye
Mm-hmm.
and we just like pretend it's not happening, then it puts us all in danger.
Yeah.
It puts our kids in danger. Like I see their children and like all of the people who are being slaughtered.
Yeah.
Just they're like my friends, my babies. So it's
And I mean, it's definitely upsetting, but also when it comes down to how it's really illegal there, and being thrown off buildings is something that's, you know, is actually a reality.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we forget just how lucky we are in the West sometimes in terms of the fact that we can even have conversations like this, because that's not really a reality for a lot of people. So with the Queer to Palestine movement, I think a lot of people's hearts are in the right place, but there's such a misunderstanding of what's happened because they've managed to place that on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Yeah.
And as somebody, like I've traveled extensively and I'm also an immigrant to the US. So as a South African, like gay marriage has always been legal. I'll say that.
Has been legal?
Has been legal for
Okay.
years, like long before it was here in the
yeah.
United States of America, because a lot of Americans would go there to get married.
Right.
But in terms of rights, if you think about it, that was just for marriage. In terms of having liberties in a Western society, that there is that double-edged sword of being like, okay, so it may look to the outside world like it's this way, but is it really? And they're pride parades that you can go to, and if you don't like the one that's in one state, you can go to one somewhere else. If you don't, there, you know, there's, it's almost like a smorgasbord of options that people have, and for those people, it's not an option. And I think I've even met a few gay and lesbian Palestinians that actually ended up leaving and finding their way to Israel, and that's where they have actually found safety. So within the whole region of the Middle East, that's the one place that actually has LGBTQ rights
In Israel.
in Israel.
So why are they being targeted in Palestine then?
Who?
Why would LGBTQ being targeted in Palestine?
In Palestine.
Yeah.
No, this is a movement that was started outside of Palestine. Queers for Palestine is a movement where I said it's been attached to the conflict that is happening. So the same people that are standing for that don't know enough information as to what it would be like for said liberation. So my question is always, so if you take yourself and you put yourself there, what you stand for wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
What you stand for is something that you would be silenced for completely. So there's this term of saying, like, you know, you mentioned humanity, which is a beautiful thing, and it's what at the core we should all be standing and striving for, to have those rights and to have freedoms where we're not in war states and we're not in situations where we're like terrorized, whether it's, you know, through violence or like psychological warfare. And for a lot of them, like I just showed you, it's a reality in which it's like, well, I have to hide who I am, or I have to leave, because the only option is that besides being taken in and being held and being detained, they will kill me.
Right.
So the movement is far removed from the conflict in Palestine, which I think a lot of people don't understand, that what they are standing for, they don't even understand, because their opinion is null and void to the people in which they're trying to help.
Green Red Alliance, guys, Green Red Alliance. That's how the Ayatollahs came to power in Iran. When they were rebelling against the Shah, they had the support of all the liberal left-wing students, because they wanted to tear down the system, which was problematic back then over there. That's true. And then those guys were ousted and you were left only with the Islamists. And it's the same thing here, all of these queers for Palestine. It's tear it down, burn it down. The US is bad. And that's why they're supporting this, not because there's any alignment of values.
Right, because the right doesn't stand there in the first place. So is this geared towards creating more awareness, or like having...
No, it's definitely towards creating more awareness, because I think a lot of people tend to think that that would be happening in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you know, because there's a lot of misinformation. So a lot of people tend to think that that's the reality, when in fact in the early 2000s, like when I went to Israel for the first time, it was the gay capital of the world, not New York, nowhere else, because of everything that it stood for, but also people come in from all over the world just to attend that, which is a beautiful thing that you could do that in the Middle East.
Yes, absolutely.
Like it's mind blowing.
Okay.
But that is, and it's also one of the biggest pride parades in the world. So even with the conflict that's going on now, it might not have been the same extent that it would have been had, and more celebrations and so forth, but it still happened. The LGBTQ community, the queer community, still got a chance to have their space.
Right.
Nowhere else can you do that in the Middle East.
Words of wisdom from the lady. And it's funny because she's like sitting there all wearing pink, a woman of color, you know, and this lady's thinking, oh, here's a revolutionary leftist queers for Palestine lady. And then she sits down with her and this woman is just like spitting truths, you know, and she just has to kind of smile embarrassingly. Give props to the lady, though, who sat down respectfully and listened to an opinion that was not what she thought. So props to that, because a lot of people, when they sit down, they don't want to hear facts that they don't like. And, you know, you had a good conversation there. And wow, I don't know who that lady is, but props to her for just like so calmly explaining something that should be so obvious, and obviously on having an impact on an individual. But yeah, queers for Palestine in Palestine would live a very, very bad life, the same way chickens for KFC have a bad life in KFC, and cows for McDonald's would not do very well either. but it's not about that. It's not, ooh, this movement aligns with my values, as I said, or this movement would kill me personally for who I am. Same with Jews who support Hamas as if they could live under Hamas. But, you know, sometimes there are some other things going on, and we see how various movements around the world fighting their own causes, whether it's people of color in the US or whether it's other issues in other places, and then they try to latch on to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for some reason and create this artificial alignment that just isn't there, folks, just isn't there. That's all for this video. Insightful Nomad. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You can go over and support my channel on Patreon. And also please try to visit or to view some of my travel vlogs in various countries, including Muslim and Arab countries, which is how I started this channel. Would really appreciate that support. Thanks for watching. See you next time.